Today I'm sharing with you the absolute biggest, most influential skill that 4 years of music school taught me. But here's the deal. You don't have to go to music school to gain this crucial skill. You can do this on your own. I'll show you how. I think the most game-changing class for me when I was in music school was ear training. That went on every week for the first 2 years of school. And that class consisted of sight singing, where you see music on paper and you have to go sing it one-on-one for the professor, which was super awkward and really hard for me at first, especially because I'm not a singer. We also had to do dictation exercises where the professor would play something on the piano, play chords, and we'd have to write out the chords, or play a melody and we have to write out the melody. We would do some rhythmic dictation where there would just be a rhythm and we write that out. We had to learn to identify scales and different types of scales and modes and chords and intervals, all that good stuff, all the real world stuff that's very much practical and applicable to everything you do as a musician. So it was a super practical class. For one thing, I caught on to the Roman numeral chord system, basically the Nashville number system, because we had to learn those things. And so I was getting really good at identifying chords and hearing chord progressions. I was also more focused on melodies, because when you learn a lot about intervals, well, that's the relationship between notes, and that's what melodies are. Melodies consist of various intervals. It's like stair steps. And so the more melodic dictation I did and the more sight singing, the more in tune I was with melodies and really paying attention to melody and music. I also got way faster at transcribing grooves. And so I could hear a drum groove and write it out, because honestly, that was easier than writing out a melody or writing out harmony, chords in class. Some of what we were doing in that class was so tough that writing out drum grooves seemed like a piece of cake in comparison after I really worked at all of that stuff. And so because of all of that, I was listening to music in a much deeper way, which was really cool because my critical listening got better. I was able to really listen in detail and really hone in on stuff, and I was retaining a lot more, and I was pulling a lot more out of what I listened to. Now, I tell you all of this not to brag about how I went to music school for 4 years and took this class for 2 years, and to say, I learned all of this and you didn't because you didn't go to music school. No, that's not at all what I'm saying, because you can learn this on your own. You don't have to go to music school to learn these things, because you've got the internet at your fingertips. And there are actually some really great resources out there. All that you've got to do is push yourself, take the initiative and push yourself to do this. I will say the advantage of being in music school is you have these assignments and you have to do them, or else you get kicked out of school and you lose your scholarships. And so sometimes without that motivation, it can be a little tougher. And so you've got to really lock yourself down to this, but you're very capable of doing it. You've got a better ear than you think you have, because it isn't so much, do you have a good ear? It's, have you worked to train your ear? And you can intentionally work at training your ear and use these resources that I'm going to give you. It's going to help you a bunch. And so you can basically gain the most important skill that I learned in music school without going to music school. Here's how you do it. Go to musictheory.net. This website was around almost 10 years ago when I was starting college. And they also have an app now called Tenuto. And you can go to this website and you can learn anything you want to learn about music theory. You can also do listening practice. You can have it quiz you and play you different intervals, and you learn to identify them. And so you can do all this stuff. Basically everything that we did in ear training class in college, you can do here on this website, just practicing it. And if you're totally new to notation and it feels overwhelming to you, you can check out a video I released recently all about how to read drum notation, which is music notation. I talked about it as applied to drums, and we just talked about rhythms and some basic grooves. But get started with that. Go check out that video. It's a long but thorough workshop on how to read and write and understand drum notation, just how to interpret that. And so get started with that, so you kind of have a foundation established if you're totally new to notation, and you'll be good to go for learning more about music theory and working up your listening. Also, get a keyboard. I know you might be like, Steven, this is excessive. I've barely got my paradiddles together. I'm working on drum technique. I gotta work on the drums before I can work on another instrument. Well, I know I got to be careful what I say here, because I do want you to stay focused on what you're working on now. I don't want to give you too many things. But working on piano and working on your ear training, that's a whole nother side to drumming that everyone needs to possess. You need to work on technique. You need to work on technical facility on the drums, but you also need to work on musicality and on listening. And this is the listening side of things. And so if you're able to afford just a little keyboard, buy a used one. You don't have to spend much, $100, get a little keyboard and start learning some piano stuff. Just start listening to your favorite songs and figuring out those melodies on the piano, even if you have no prior experience. Figure that out, because that's going to develop your ear a bunch, and it's a lot of fun. Practice figuring out the chords, even if it's just a single note with your left hand, kind of like on bass guitar, where it's just a single note. and figure those things out. Have fun with that. And then if you want to really take the initiative, if you're blessed with the time right now and finances to basically start taking piano lessons, by all means, do that. Piano was my first instrument. I started on that when I was in 3rd grade. And to this day, I feel like that was a crucial part of building up my drumming skill, learning piano, learning a tonal instrument so that I was able to put all of this ear training stuff into practice. Now, the other cool thing about this is as a drummer, you'll be able to impress your bandmates. If you take the time to learn some ear training and learn how to identify chords, that means when they say something like, okay, we're going to crash out on the 4 chord here at the end of the chorus for the song, you know exactly what they're talking about. You're not in the dark over there. You're able to listen to the chord progression that they're playing, and when you hear that 4 chord, you know that's where you're crashing out. And so that can help a bunch. I think it's funny because you really do impress bandmates as a drummer, because people tend to not expect the drummer to know chords and know other tonal music like that. But knowing that isn't just going to impress your bandmates. That's not just the only purpose there. It's going to help you be more in tune with what they're doing. And when they're having conversations about what they're playing, you know what they're talking about, because you need to be an active participant in all of that. Your role isn't just timekeeper. You want to play musical, inspiring time. So you need to be in tune with what the rest of the band's doing. And of course, learning all of this makes transcribing much easier. You can hear things in a song and be able to write them out. You'll be able to hear things and play them, and you'll be able to write them out. And so you'll be listening, you'll be writing, you'll be doing, and then you'll be reading. And so at that point, it's like you're learning every approach here. You're approaching this from every angle. You're approaching music from every angle, which definitely heightens your skills as a musician. It also makes learning songs much quicker and much more easy. Here's the thing. This may sound daunting. I know I've been throwing a lot of things at you here. It may sound daunting, but here's what you gotta know and you've gotta understand. You are far more capable of success in developing your ear than you think you are. Just because you feel like you don't have a great ear, just because maybe you've been told you're tone deaf, just because you can't sing, I can't sing, that doesn't mean that you can't go and learn these things, because talent doesn't matter so much. I mean, I guess talent's useful, and if you have a little bit of natural ability that's just there, that's awesome. But ultimately, work ethic is what counts. And so if you have the work ethic and you've taken the initiative to work on these things, you're going to get there. You're going to make progress. You're going to learn these things. You've just got to do a little bit every day, and you've got to be patient with yourself. But the truth is, I believe you can do it, because it does take time. I mean, I was in that ear training class for 2 years, and so in 2 years, I definitely learned a lot. But I was also playing piano for years before that. And so none of this happens overnight. Be patient with yourself, but know that you can do it. Because if you spend the time doing this, your playing will reap the rewards. Mark my words, your playing will reap the rewards, and you're going to grow a bunch as a musician if you take the time to do this. Hey, if this video has encouraged you, hopefully motivated you and inspired you, hopefully not been overwhelming to you, you've enjoyed this video and it's helped you out, be sure to subscribe before you go, and shoot me an email if you have any questions about this, because I know there could definitely be a lot of questions and I want to help you out as much as I can. And so feel free to reach out and I will happily help you out with this stuff. Also, check out my free PDF e-guide in the description below. If you're working on your ear training and you've gone back and watched that video about the notation, then you're ready to really approach learning songs in a new way. This guide is called 5 Steps to Learning Any Song in Under 60 Minutes, and it will help you do just that. It really will. It's got action steps and chart examples of stuff I've done, so it's sure to help you out a bunch. So go get that. That's kind of a natural next step after everything we've talked about today. So thanks everyone so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. I will see you next week. In the meantime, know that you can do this. Stay non-glamorous.